Hello, this is Guy Severson with yet another episode of Viral TNT, where I take a look at how people are helping businesses succeed on the web. Today I have with me Dawn Appleberg, who will be speaking with us as it relates to teen entrepreneurship. Hello, Dawn. Welcome to the call.
Hi. Thanks, Guy, for having me.
Awesome. Glad to have you here. So, as I understand, you work with helping people in the area of teen entrepreneurship. Is that correct?
That is one of the things I do, yes. One of the reasons we got involved in this was because we started seeing a growing trend of teenagers and young adults who could not function in the real world. We've seen it all over the place now. But it's gotten to the extreme now to the point where there literally was a video out there where you have a class of about 30, 20-year-olds standing around or sitting around videotaping one of their classmates opening, unassisted, a SpaghettiO can with a can opener, and once she gets it open, they're clapping as if she had just received some major award. Now, I started looking at Twitter, and I started looking at some of the blogs and the forums, and I started realizing kids today are not taught the same way you and I were. When I was in 8th grade, and I think you remember this, we had to go through the stock papers in the Sunday paper, pick our stocks, we had to figure out the investments, the whole works. They just don't do it anymore. They don't teach real-world practices like, percentages and losses and taxes and how to fill out forms correctly. As a homeschool,
let me interject for a moment, if I may. Why do you think this transition has taken place?
I'll be perfectly honest, I'm not a fan of Common Core. Common Core has become inundated with information that is not necessarily important or critical for you as an adult, but it's things that were tossed into the program so that they felt they were educating as much as possible. It's one of the reasons why America fell down to number 14 globally when it came to the education system. Common Core does not teach realistic lifestyle or realistic life math, business practices, or this type of thing. What it does do is it prepares you for testing. It prepares you to go to college. It does not prepare you to own a business. It does not prepare you to be a manager. In the propagandizing of what is in the programs for our teens and for our kids nowadays, and for our colleges, as a matter of fact. And I just graduated from the bachelor's.
So let's go ahead and go back over to how, where your focus is as the result of that situation.
Well, I homeschool my 3 kids. My 13-year-old last year came to me and he said that he wanted to open a business. And he didn't want to do any type of lawn mowing. He wanted to have a legitimate business that could grow, that he could go ahead and as an adult continue. So we started looking at different businesses, and one of the things he decided to do was a coffee shop. I started researching it with them. They had to come to me and let me know the startup costs, what they figured, and of course as kids, some of them were not exactly what you call realistic, but I was pretty surprised with their answers. So we decided to take it one step further. Why don't we open a coffee shop where my kids can actually have their own business, and we can bring in other teenagers who are interested in learning how to run a business, learning how to do inventory, learning how to do your profit and losses, your employee payrolls, your marketing, all the things that you need to learn in order to work in real-world environment business acumen. Why don't we open something where we can actually bring them in? They can work as entrepreneurs. They can go ahead and learn it, and when they graduate, if you will, they can either open their own, or they can move on to another skill set that they like or another job that they like, but still have the basic platform. So it's been really taking off. A lot of people like the idea. It's getting people to contribute to the idea. That's a challenge. So, and we're starting small. Basically, we've gone from the $25,000 coffee shop kiosk that you see on little corners. We're now getting coffee carts that we can take to games and this type of thing. So the kids still get a business understanding. That's about $5,000. But now what my kids are doing is that they're having to research business loans, grants, government loans, and this type. And we're having other teenagers who, when they hear them talking about it, they come and say, well, how do you do that? What if I wanted to start, a skateboard shop? So I'm starting to deal with them as well. Now, this doesn't cost them anything. It doesn't cost me anything. But we have to get it real world for it to actually work. Make sense?
Sure. And so getting that real world is where the expenses and whatnot come into play.
What we decided is we wanted to go ahead and look for investments nationwide. And when I mean investments, we're talking no less than $20, no more than $200 per individual. My kids have to sit down then, and in real world, you know that you can't exactly put a cap on how much you're going to make on your rate of interest, or on your return of rate of interest, or your investment return. However, to make it easier for them, I capped it at 30%. So what they have to do is they have to sit down with each and every one of these, and they have to write when they got it, they have to write how much, and then they have to write what the percentage of investment return they're expected to give back to the individual is, and then they have to forecast it 6 months from opening day. So they're actually already starting these lists of investors, if you will, that they have to communicate with, that they have to go ahead and let them know, hey, this is where we stand. If we don't reach our minimum by such a time, we have to return your funds, this type of thing. So they're already learning. And vicariously, they have other teenagers learning because they're talking to them about it. And now it's interesting because it's kids talking to kids about what you and I considered boring in college.
Sure, exactly.
It's fun.
So, what do you, projecting forward, as you're mentioning, you're here, with your kids and with helping other in the area kids and whatnot to pick up the entrepreneurial spirit. But let's project forward like a year, 2 years, 5 years down the road. Where do you see this going?
The projected 5-year program that we have set up on the books that is actually viable. Now, for those who don't understand the investment language, what you have is what you hope comes in, which everybody is like tons of money and everything else. Then you have practical, which is barely being able to keep it open. And then you have viable. Viable meaning this is a projected reasonable amount of profit to go ahead and expand. Okay? So within 5 years, we are looking at being able to go ahead and expand another coffee shop opening up, having more kids being able to come in, having one of my kids in charge of said coffee shop. In 8 years, when my kids are closer to adulthood, being able to open up a third coffee shop, and at that point begin to be investment savvy enough that they can start investing in other kids who want to be entrepreneurs, who want to go ahead and learn. But we're not talking giving money away. Now, this is the mindset we have today that's challenging. Our kids today are being raised that everything is entitled, participation trophies, and you should just give them money. Mom and Dad, sorry, but that's kind of what you taught them. And so not giving them money. What they have to come to us with is going to be a proper business plan. They have to come with us with a proper understanding of what the budget's going to be, what they expect for salaries, what you'd have to do for a business. In order to do that, they're going to have to go through the process of working at the coffee shop for them to understand real world how it works. So that when they run out of their, prime, what are they supposed to do? Do they panic and melt down? Or do they actually substitute it with something else? These type of things. And it's such a basic environment that it teaches them without having catastrophic, unenforced issues that occur. If we open like a restaurant, we end up with food poisoning or, that type of thing. Coffee shop, not so much. But then what we can do is that they can go ahead and invest. And what I would hopefully like to see within 10, 15 years is a bunch of, nationwide, a bunch of these popping up with kids helping kids invest and becoming more of the independent spirit that we used to have in America and opening up their own investments and teaching others. And if it takes on enough, they can put them to school.
If I may interject a minute, I really want to emphasize on something that you just said that I think was awesome. Kids helping kids. Mm-hmm. That's so cool because the more we can build that kind of synergy, the more we can regain the America that has been lost.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but let's look at this from a media relations perspective. By the time you're 18, if you're starting your own business, that's kind of yesterday's news. When you're hearing of 15, 16-year-olds who are going out and independently starting their own business, that's giving them free media, that's giving them free press, that's getting them that extra push to get them out there where it's wow, and you start hearing about it, and it's kind of a freebie, if you will. It's a handicap that they can go ahead and use like you wouldn't go, but it helps. And so that's why I'm trying to push it at this age as well. That way, by the time they're 18, they're not making the same mistakes and costing their credit or losing the potential for the business. They've already made them in a controlled environment, and they can go on and do it without a safety net and hopefully help others.
So let's say somebody is listening to this video that doesn't happen to be in your local area. Mm-hmm. Would you be available for questions, if they had questions about how to copy what you're doing or emulate what you're doing in their area? So how would somebody get a hold of you?
Well, I have a website called Razor's Edge Consulting. I am on...
Okay, hang on a second. Hang on a second. Let's go over that, but not at Mach 10. Let's go over that URL one more time.
Sorry. Razor's Edge Consulting is a website that I have. It's a professional website. It will be launching here within the next 3 or 4 days. Shout out to Como because they're actually doing it for me. They've reached out and given me a wonderful media package. I also am on Facebook under Razor's Edge Consulting. I also have multiple platforms where if you just type in Dawn Appleberg or Razor's Edge, you're going to find me. And this is not, I want this to be understood. I'm not doing this for a massive profit. The main reason I'm doing this and I want it to work is because I have 3 children. I am afraid of putting in the workforce the way it looks today. If they have, and it's not because they don't have jobs out there. It's because the mentality that's out there is so different. I want them to be able to be independent of that mentality and work for themselves. So my goal is to get my children set up independent. Now, the beauty of this is that let's forecast the future. Let's say that one of my kids has decided they no longer want to run the shop. Then they have the option of selling it to the other kids, liquidating their assets, moving on and doing whatever they wish with it. They have the option of subcontract management franchise, this type of thing. But they have those options, but at least I know they'll be viable in an industry that, let's be honest, there are 2 industries that no matter what happens to the world are going to be there: booze and coffee.
Well, there you go.
Okay. And for anybody out there who wanted to do this, I don't care if you're in New York or whatever, I could work with you with the laws to make sure that you understand your minor laws and how you have to go ahead and get the licensing for it. It's not for me to make a profit. Now, we would work, my time is worth something, so don't get me wrong, it's not going to be free. However, I don't charge up front. What I do is I charge on success. So it would be a flat fee that would charge at the point of actual opening, and then they could run with it. Or they could even franchise with us if they wanted to go ahead and get the name out there. That's how Starbucks did it. I don't like Starbucks, but sorry, guys, for coming after your customers. I think my kids would be able to do better. But, no, it's just, and real quick, the reason I look so red is because we're here in Washington State. I don't know if you guys know what's going on, but it's really hot, really muggy. We've had a couple of fires, and we have no air conditioning. So this is not sunburn, all right? Anyway. No, but I have no problem helping parents. I have no problem helping educators. If educators would want to do this in schools, I actually have a platform that they can launch so that the school picks up the bill and helps them out, but the kids still get the same real-world philosophy with even a bigger safety net, because now they're working like in the cafeteria at school, or they're working in, a coffee shop at school, this type of thing. I would love to see it in every school. The kids need this now.
Yes. I totally agree. Totally agree. Now, I've asked several questions. The question is, what haven't I asked?
Age limits. Due to Washington State's labor law, I cannot legally have anybody under 16 in there as a worker. That does not mean if your child is 13 and they're a go-getter and energetic and you want them to learn this, that I cannot work a way around that so they're actually in there as an educational subsidiary. I have found legal ways to work that. However, I'd also caution parents to be very careful. Below 13, it's okay to start them with this stuff, but you also want them to go ahead and still have some type of childhood. You still want them to have some type of life that they can enjoy, because it's going to be hitting them so quick, especially when tests come around for school. 18, at that point, the only problem I have with 18 is at that point now you're an adult. I can't commingle, and this is important for anybody who wants to start something like this. Commingling adults with minors, you have to be very careful with. You have to have more security. You have to, more eyes on them, if you will. And the other thing to take into consideration when it comes to this is that before you do set up something like this, you need to check with your state, city, and county laws to find out if there's anything in there that states that minors cannot be in this environment without, like, parents or this type of thing. So that's critical. I ran into that one real quick. The second one, the startup costs that we're talking about, they're not startup costs for fanfare or fluff. It's going to cost you. You are looking at a minimum of $5,000, and that's for one of those little teeny tiny carts that you see at the football game on the side, looking like a lemonade stand. You can expect about $25,000 for a good investment initially. And when it comes to that, you're looking at that is for fees, licenses, initial inventory. That's for your renting. That's not even owning. That's just renting the building or lot or whatever else you're talking about. You're going to have to look at your food handler situations. You can't just jump into this. And I understand a lot of people get excited. I'm not trying to discourage anybody from doing this. However, realize when you're talking this industry, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. And if you have children that like to sleep in and you're going to have to drag them to work, it's counterproductive. So that's something else to think about.
Right.
I can help you with other industries that are just as simple that we can go ahead and get them started in. You do not have to have a business license. Oh, I'm sorry, you have to have a business license. You do not have to have a business degree. All right? I've had that question a lot. I have a master's in business finance, and I have 2 bachelors. But the reason I have those is for my personal business, Razor's Edge, not for the kids' business.
Sure.
You do not have to have a background in business. What you do need is to know someone who will keep you honest. And the final thing that I would have to say is be reasonable with the expectations. The first 3-4 months, you're not going to make a profit. Okay? The kids are going to be discouraged because we as adults understand when you get that paycheck, you're going to have to spend most of it for rent and food and everything else. A kid gets a paycheck and they're thinking pizza, skateboards, and the new video game. So they need to have reasonable expectations. So it's best to sit down with them beforehand and let them know. We use Monopoly money here. And what I mean by that is my kids fill out an application for their chores, are interviewed for them. They're paid the wage of the chores, which is different depending on what chore it is, based with Monopoly money. And then they have bills they have to pay. And if they can't make their rent, well, then they end up sleeping on the couch until the next month rolls around.
Wow.
Well,
that's a really great way of learning.
Well, yeah, in the real world, if you can't pay your rent, the landlord's not going to say, that's okay, I like you, So, have something in place beforehand. This is not just a business opening. This is a whole process of learning. And if anybody out there wanted to, please feel free to hit me up. I'll have no problem helping you out.
And again, how do people get in touch with you?
Razor's Edge Consulting. My email is dlappleberg, APPELBERG, at razorsedgellc.com. Look for Razor's Edge Consulting, or just look up Dawn Appleberg. I am the only one out there. Literally, I've looked.
There you go.
So
Perfect. Well, Dawn, I thank you so much for your time today and for just giving us a vision into teenage entrepreneurship, what we can do to help the process, how we can bring the kids forward that are in this generation so we can continue to see the success in America that we have been seeing.
Thank you.
This is Guy Severson of Viral TN Team, And this, again, is another episode of Viral TNT where I tap into the heart of people helping people in business succeed on and off the web. If you would like to be recorded like Don and I were just now, please contact me. This doesn't cost anything, and it goes to my 26,000 followers and on Twitter. Again, thank you, Don, for your time.
Thank you.
And have a great rest of your week.
You too.
All right. Bye-bye.